curious about the DFW home market for the first quarter of this year of 2024? Well, get ready because we've got the inside scoop. In the next few minutes, we will go over the predictions for the quarter one housing market for the DFW area. But here is the real kicker. With unpredictable factors like interest rates and economic surprises on the horizon, you don't want to miss this valuable insight. Please stay tuned till the end for ultimate tips on selling your property at the right time for the maximum price, whether it's in quarter one or quarter two or any quarter of the next year. Remember, knowledge and power, and we got the information for you right here. Let's dive in. Well, first of all, welcome to our in-depth preview of the DFW home market for the first quarter of the year. In the months of January through March, the DFW housing market is projected to experience a unique blend of factors that can significantly impact your real estate decisions. Let's start with the positive factors. One of the positive factors is called New Year resolutions. New Year resolutions can have a positive impact on the buyer behavior because many of the home buyers who were reluctant to get into the market in 2023 because of high interest rates might have made a resolution on New Year's Eve to buy a house in 2024. And just like it works with resolutions to get fit or eat healthy, the first part of the year is when they're really striving to get their New Year resolutions fulfilled. So from that standpoint, the number of people who set their mind in this year to start looking at homes can impact the number of home shoppers who are looking online to see which homes are available. Low inventory. Another positive factor that we're going to review in just a couple of minutes is what we call low inventory or low number of homes for sale. That happens at the beginning of the year because many people who plan to sell before the end of 2023 already sold their homes. And those who have not sold their homes yet, they might decide to wait until summer of 2024 to sell. For that reason, the time period between January and approximately April of 2024 is when the buyers are predicted to experience a scarcity of good homes for sale. This can positively impact the home prices in your area. Among the negative factors that you need to consider is weather. Colder and rainy weather can impact the buyer's behavior because many of them, even though they would love to go see the houses, if it's raining for several days in a row, they might just decide to stay home and wait for a warmer weather to come. Furthermore, unfavorable weather and shorter daylight hours tend to keep people at home, reducing the number of home shoppers, which in turn can negatively impact the prices. With kids in school, many parents also prefer not to move their households during the school year, further reducing the number of home shoppers and thus negatively impacting the prices. So as you can see, there is a mixture of positive factors such as New Year resolutions and scarcity of good homes and negative factors that are playing out during the first quarter of this year. So what kind of predictions can we make about home prices during the first quarter of 2024? Well, let's take a look into the yearly trends for quarter one on this graph. So this graph shows home prices in the four main counties, Dallas County and Denton and Tarrant County in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas for the last 3 years. Notice that this is the January prices for 4 different years. As you can see, during January in almost all counties except for Collin County is red in this graph, we see that home prices are depressed. Typically, the home prices are depressed starting in January, and then they start to experience a slow rise. So let's take a look. We can zoom in on the same graph. And this is our January. This is Collin County. This is Denton County. This is Dallas County, and this is Tarrant County, the blackest Tarrant County. So as you can see, all counties except for Collin, last year at least, this historical performance, experienced lower home prices in January, and then gradually those home prices started to rise toward April. So as you can see, for all counties in April, home prices reached their peak, because we're currently looking only at the quarter one of 2024. So we can predict that home prices will rise gradually starting from January and moving toward April and May. Now, let's take a look at our supply. So supply is the number of homes available for sale. As you may remember, we have looked at supply, low supply of homes, as a positive factor for the pricing. So let's take a look at what happens with the inventory or the number of homes for sale, typically in the first quarter of each year. As we can see, January, which is the purple here, is typically one of the lowest inventory months at least it was in the previous year and expected to be in this year as well. As we can see, typically the inventory remains pretty low for almost all counties for the first quarter of the year, which means due to the lower number of homes, the lower number of homes pushes the prices higher because the same number of home buyers are trying to compete for fewer homes. Well, so as we can see, the inventory of homes is lower, and it is probably going to hold true for 2024 as well. So if your home needs to sell within the first 4 months of this year, just be aware that you're likely to have fewer competitions among other properties. Let's look at the demand. The demand is usually measured in the number of homes that's sold within a specific area. Let's take a look at our numbers. In 2023, we're looking back at the historical data to predict the future performance. We see that the number of sold homes was at the lowest in January, probably because fewer people tried to buy home during the Christmas holidays. But as you can see, the number of homes that sold was increasing pretty much steadily without interruption for the first 3 months, slipping only slightly, possibly toward April. So as you can see, from January till March, January, February, March, April. From January to March, we see almost like a straight shoot up, and then it slowed down somewhat toward April. So what does it tell you? It tells you that there will be a surge of buyers who are looking at smaller number of available homes, trying to buy up those homes. So the surge of sold homes indicate that the demand for homes during that time is quite high. Last but not least, the last factor that we're going to take a look at is going to be the number of home shoppers. Again, we're looking at the numbers from 2023, but those numbers typically tend to somewhat repeat. As you can see, those are somewhat similar waves, although some of them slightly higher, some of them slightly lower for the last 5 years. So let's take a look at our numbers for quarter first. As you can see, the number of home shoppers was actually high at the beginning of the year. And remember what I told you about New Year resolution. The New Year resolution is a very powerful thing. As we can see, the number of home shoppers who were trying to buy a home in 2023 was one of the strongest in January, February, and March, and then it started to wane toward the end of the year. So what did it tell you? It tells you that even though the number of homes available for sale was one of the smallest in the first quarter, the number of home shoppers for that year And the number of sold homes for that year was very strong during the first quarter of the year. Conclusion, that means that during the first part of the year, those home owners who want to sell quickly can benefit a lot from the lack of competition from other homes and a surge of home shoppers coming out of the holiday season. So, how would you make a decision on whether or not some months or some quarter is a good time to sell a property in 2024? The only true way to make a decision about which months or which quarter appears to be the most favorable for a sale of the home would be to watch the numbers. Watching the numbers of the local area around you will give you the information that you need to make the right decision at the right time. So let me just give you an example. I have some home owners who are thinking about selling a home in Coventry of Bridlewood in Flower Mound. So for them, I created this graph showing to them historically over the last 5 years, when were the best months for price increases at the Coventry of Bridlewood subdivision. As you can see, we have a pretty consistent data showing that the peaks of almost all home sales behavior as far as prices go were between April and May or potentially July of each year. So from that standpoint, the prediction for the Coventry of Bridlewood as far as home sale prices would be to sell anywhere between April and June of any year, because we can see a consistent behavior for that specific subdivision in terms of prices. If you would like for me to generate a similar breakdown for your subdivision, just let me know what subdivision you're looking for and what is your square footage or how many bedrooms you have, and I will create a very similar breakdown for your specific area. Also, if you would like to have more aggregated data to look at, you could look at data per county, per zip code, or per city. So for example, if you would like to watch performance of your zip code or of your city, the data is easily available as well. The only thing that I can tell you about 2024 is that this will be a year full of surprises and unexpected turns of events. So whether you're planning to stay put or if you're planning to try to sell your home in 2024, watch the environment around you, and if you're planning to make a move, be ready to adjust your sales quickly. So if the interest rates drop and suddenly the buyer activity around you shoots up, maybe that would be the good time to take a quick action to capitalize on that unexpected favorable turn of events. What kind of factors could affect the buyer behavior and the home market in 2024? Quite a few factors. Number one, we are entering an election year. During the election year, many factors that would normally be fairly constant would be tweaked by our politicians in order to create a more or less favorable outcome for an election. Such factor could be interest rates. So the Fed could increase or decrease or keep the interest rate the same in order to help the economy to look healthier for the election year. Also, during the election year, just depending on what happens, remember, we have politics involved that could increase the overall economic employment, that could increase oil prices, that could increase rates of how would I say it, the buyer mood or the buyer behavior. So all of those items could be triggered or could be manipulated by the politicians. Also, don't forget about black swan events. What are black swan events? Could be anything. Right now, it is quite hot in many areas of the world that have nothing to do with the DFW real estate, but nevertheless could adjust the prices of homes. So, for example, a war in the Middle East, if that war spilled out and became more escalated, the oil prices in the United States and in Texas could go up. Anytime the oil prices go up, the buyer behavior goes down, and the market for the home starts to take a nosedive. So black swan events is something that we cannot predict, but nevertheless could quickly change the buyer mood and the mood of the Fed, the Fed, and the mood of the government as far as purchasing programs for home buyers. Also, very locally, within your local community, there could be events that could affect the decisions by other home sellers to sell. So, for example, some of your neighbors could decide that a particular school building nearby or a particular commercial development being built nearby may positively or negatively affect their quality of life. And they could start to decide to sell at a time when you would not expect them to. So this behavior by other sellers could potentially affect the market in your area, even though normally those kind of changes would not be predicted to occur. How can you be successful in home sale at any time, whether it's being the first quarter of the 2024 or the third quarter of 2026? Always choose the right helpers. You need to have a team of people who are giving you information that could help you to make the right decision at the right time. I actually am putting together a Telegram channel that will help me to put updates for certain counties, for example, the 4 counties that I already mentioned, and for additional counties online monthly, to allow homeowners who are interested in that kind of information to keep an eye on the trends in specific counties. The last but not least, for those home sellers who are watching the real estate market with great worry and thinking that this is a negative environment or an environment that is currently unfavorable for me to execute my plans. The only thing that I can tell you is that there's always 4 categories of people who enter any kind of environment. And for a moment, I'm going to say that trying to make a move and trying to sell your home is a little bit like getting into a sailing boat and trying to sail from one destination to another. At any given time, you could have a current that is stronger than you expected. At any given time, a wind could shift. But in any situation, there will always be 4 types of people in the boat. And depending on which category you're in, you need to make sure that people traveling with you, such as your helpers, are at the very least offsetting your weaknesses or your fears or your behavior with theirs. So what are the 4 categories? And this is generally goes not just for home sale, but also can go for any crisis or any situation where you have to really work to achieve some kind of a result. One type of behavior is called survivor behavior. Survival behavior basically says, situation is bad, I'm going to do the best I can not to drown in a situation, and maybe I will stay out of the sailboat altogether. I do not want to suffer any kind of I do not want to suffer any kind of misfortune or any kind of difficulty during my journey. Second way of approaching, or second type of sailor, so to speak, is what we would call a contender. A contender is a very capable person who is generally can survive different weather events, and he or she is not too bothered by things not going perfectly. But at the same time, there is only going to be a limited amount of effort that this person is going to put into making sure that they reach their destination. When the wind or the resistance becomes too strong, The contender simply sits back, puts on her favorite TV show, and then watches the TV shows or enjoys her life until the storm passes or until the environment becomes more favorable. A third type of behavior is called competitor. A competitor is going to look at the market and say, I know that this market may not be perfect, and very few markets are. Very few sea trips are perfect in every sense of the way. But nevertheless, I know how to adjust my sales in order to reach my goals. So in competitor is actually determined to obtain the results that he or she wants, regardless of the resistance that he or she experiences. So, and they will go to a great length to obtain the results and to win the situation, no matter how unfavorable or favorable it was at first. And the last category is commander. A commander is somebody who is understanding that it's very hard to win a competition or to get to a destination all on their own. And those people typically tend to assemble a team of very able people around them. And then they use their knowledge and their expertise to guide the team around them to a winning spot. So kind of look at this graph and say, is 2024, given that we have had a difficult year with interest rates, we're entering a potentially politically difficult environment where a lot of things can go wrong at the very moment, but I still would like to make a move during this time. Which category am I going to belong to? Am I going to be a survivor, a contender, a competitor, or a commander? Because the way that you approach this journey or this sailing experience from point A to point B in your plans, if you approach them as a survivor or contender, then at the very least, look for people who could be on your team who are at the very least competitors or commanders. That's it. This is all I had to say for right now. I'm sorry if it was choppy in a couple of places. I have a lot of phone calls coming in. My name is Elena Garrett. My contact information is in the description below. My phone number is 469-371-4961. You can call or text me at any time if you feel like you would like detailed information on the market performance in your specific area, in your zip code, in your city, in your subdivision, or whatever is the area around, whatever area that you're trying to track. Let me know and I will be in touch with you to see how I can arrange that data for you. Thank you so much. Have a great journey in 2024 and I'll see you at the next video.